negative balance that we started out with. So you've reduced the negative balance in the general account by 23%. You've reduced the negative balance that was in the water fund by almost 68%. And you've reduced the negative balance in the sewer fund by 28.2. Overall, you've reduced that negativity by $320,000 or 26.2%, which is really quite good. Pretty good. I'd stand up and take a bow because that's really good. That's awesome. Oh, do you want one of these? Okay, you can have one.
Now, does that include some of the things that we had in question?
Nope.
No. That's just the
That's
one.
all
No, I don't
just
do
all the for
anything
sure
until you
things.
guys tell me to do it.
Okay,
Because we did have some items last meeting
Right.
that Carol wanted you to be here to.
Along the way, there was a bunch of items that we still had questions about.
Yeah, and I don't know what, they might have resolved some of those last time, I don't know, that you weren't here.
Right.
Do you
I
have a
don't
list
know,
of those? Do you have a
I-
list of your items?
Do you have a list of those? I have a list of the other items.
I have a
Okay.
list of the things we talked about last week,
Okay,
Oh, okay.
if we want to go over those
fine.
first. Okay, gotta find them.
And I do have something to tell you about I think one of them, Kara, was the street department.
Yes, the personnel.
Yeah. Now, just so that you know, that's already been resolved because we had to bring back Jason.
Right,
So that fills that spot that was vacant,
Correct.
and that was already in the budget.
Okay,
But,
that's what-
It was in
yeah.
the budget.
And we have to bring him back
I know.
where he was.
okay,
Right.
So the budget was correct the way that it was stated.
okay,
So out of an abundance of caution, that's what I had done. I had left him basically in there until we had,
That was my understanding.
Good idea, okay.
That was my understanding before, yeah.
right.
okay,
So he came back to work today, I
He
believe?
came back today.
okay. Okay, so in the,
General fund expenditures?
yeah, I'm on page 2 of 4. Is it general fund? I don't know, is this the capital fund or I don't know what the heck it is.
What are you looking at, sir?
I don't know, is the tab for what comes before or the tab for what comes after?
I don't know. What are you looking at there?
Before.
I can
What
tell you if
comes
it's in
after?
capital or not.
Street department,
Okay, that would be in the general.
okay.
That's in the general. So she's on 2 of 4 in the general appropriations or general expense. Okay. Street department.
So we talked about, the Rescue 14, right? Did we talk about that on last Wednesday?
Well, that would be fire department.
Okay, right, okay. Fire department comes before the street department. So we'll go to street department. We talked about the vacuum sewer truck.
Okay, now we're in the capital now.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. You're in the capital.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the tab that comes before.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
I couldn't
I
answer
see
that. I'm
what you
sorry. I
mean.
should have just looked at my packet.
I'm
It's
sorry.
dumb, but, okay.
Capital fund, streets department.
No, you're looking at the street first.
Well,
right,
we can do
Karen?
street first and then go
Okay,
up to fire
yep, all right.
department.
The vacuum truck.
Right, with the vacuum truck,
Uh-huh.
Roger was gonna look into maybe getting something that was used. I don't know what happened, or if anybody talked to him, or if he was able to do that, or what the deal
I
was.
think he's been working on it with Perry. I don't think they've come to any accord yet.
Okay,
And just so that you know, either way, whether you leave that in there or you go with a lower number,
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to impact the budget.
okay, because it's a
Not to-
bond.
Yeah, because
Right.
it's a borrowing, so it's going
Right.
to affect next year
Future
and the
budgets,
following years.
right.
So
This
that's,
is the what?
Okay, so this is the vacuum or the vacuum sewer truck.
Okay.
Roger was gonna look into getting something, seeing if he could get something that was a year or two old or used.
right.
Yep.
I thought we had this.
He sent me some pictures of trucks, but I
We
don't.
did, but
I'm not
I'm
a
still
truck
working on
person.
it, but I mean. we're
Okay, that's what-
deciding
so-
whether-
I mean,
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, the question was, Jim, whether or not, we all felt he needed a new truck then, or to go with possibly, if we could, something used.
thought Perry discussed that while we were here, and he said that it wasn't a good idea to get used stuff, and that was, that was the deal. I thought that's what he said. That
No, I don't remember talking about a used vacuum truck, but maybe that's true.
No.
I don't
I wasn't here for
Well,
that
that's what
meeting,
Perry,
so.
that's what, I mean, when Perry was here, he said that he didn't advise that. He says we get rid of old vacuum trucks. He said because there's so much involved in that piece of equipment that to buy a used one, you don't know what you're getting. And he said he sells them to other, we could get money for our old one by selling to somebody else, but he wouldn't advise getting a used one. Because you're buying somebody else's problems.
Well, I mean, if Roger and Perry could, if they would find something online that would look possible and they could investigate that, I mean, that's up to Perry. If he could find something used that would fit his needs and he would be comfortable with it, I'd absolutely go with that. But I guess I understand what you're saying, but in the same aspect, I would still continue to have Roger and Perry look towards something more, not, if we can get the same usage out of a used piece of equipment, if he looked at it and checked it out, and he was okay with it, I would be, I mean,
If they find something, let's have Perry come and we can meet with him and talk about it.
Yeah.
Can I ask about assigning the vacuum truck to the sewer budget as opposed to the general fund?
Yeah, like I said, there's no impact to the budget. When we borrow, it'll go
This year.
against because they use it for other things other than sewer. They'll use it for...
They do?
Yeah, they use it for unplugging like storm drains. Like when they have a collapsed storm drain, they'll
Okay.
run that sewer thing through the storm drain.
Yes.
For the clear plugs and stuff like that.
Right.
So there'll be a portion of that will go both places, but I don't
Okay.
show it both places at this point in time.
That answers my question.
Okay. And it would just be, Mike, it would just be the borrowing that goes against future budgets.
Yes.
So let's say the payment on it is $25,000 a year. I'm just
Yeah.
pulling a number.
Yeah.
Part of it would go to the general and part of it would be to the sewer to pay that debt off. Okay? So
Yes.
That's how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, I could move that down to the sewer, but it's still going to have the same impact, no impact this year.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, and then the other things were smaller. We talked about maybe we don't need a mechanical gate since you could figured something else out.
Right.
Less money for the fence rather than $35,000.
Mm-hmm.
I think we guesstimated 10. Or am I right? I don't know. I couldn't remember what we
to
guesstimated.
subtract off that?
I think we're going to subtract 10.
Okay,
I think the idea was to subtract 10.
okay.
Yeah, I know, because he said something about moving it back.
Using the other building as part of the boundary, so then
yes.
not needing the,
using
Yeah.
building as part of
Instead
the
of having
boundary.
it, like if the garage door is here, rather than having it on the street side of the garage door, have it on the other side,
Yeah.
so that the trucks could have egress and ingress to that garage without getting out and opening
Right.
the fence. So, yeah.
Would that still include the mechanical gate then, or a manual?
I think a manual they were
Manual
talking
gate.
about.
They were talking manual, and I think that's where the savings came in.
Yeah, on that side, on the Cushing Street side, on the
That's
north
just
end of the building,
Cushing.
you'd have a manual gate between, there's two different buildings there, a manual gate there and a manual gate on the south side of that building where the trucks and the main building.
Mhm.
But on
And it-
Eagle Street side, it'd be a
Mechanical.
It would,
Yeah.
also there would,
So
so
Eagle
there would
Street-
still be one mechanical.
Yeah.
Right, just
Yeah.
in that one
Yeah, but the other
area.
two
Actually-
sides would just be stationary.
And they determined that, who came up with the reduction on that? the
I don't
cost?
know.
Do you think it's too much?
I have no idea.
Tell you what, fence is expensive.
Well, that's why I was wondering if we got an estimate.
Yeah, there was an estimate. We got an estimate, it was last year, toward the end of toward the end of last.
For the way it was prior to removing the 10. I just wonder where that idea.
Yeah, it was 35, yeah.
Removing 10,000 is going to save that much
Yeah.
money. I don't know.
I don't think I have that estimate, but let me just run it. You guys can talk, but I'm gonna go down and see if I have that estimate.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a savings. I don't, maybe $10,000 was too extreme. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's why I was wondering if we had a number that we could sort of,
Now, go back to the vacuum truck. Isn't there a process of finding these things? I mean, I don't know if, that's this whole.
Going out to bid or whatever?
Isn't there a process of about finding, these capital project, things of this size?
I would assume
I
they'd
would
have to.
assume there's a process.
Go to bid, I
mean,
would
Yeah.
think.
I know Roger likes to, think he could find things on eBay and give us great deals, but it's great when you're an individual or private business, but it's a whole different story for the process that we have to go through. You can't just say, hey, I found you one, and then I'm going to make a few bucks on this and be happy, kind of thing.
Well, I don't think that's, I didn't look at it that way. I looked at it as if the process is they have to go through a bidding process to find a new a vehicle, but if they can find something that meets their needs that's used, I have no problem. I get it. I don't know if it follows state bidding procedures or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I don't know the legalities of all that. I really don't, but I
Right.
just didn't. And that hasn't been taken out yet, so, it was just a thought.
It's my understanding that generally the state bid is cheaper for motor vehicles than any other.
The process
way
we went back to
financing.
the vacuum truck, the process for acquiring a vehicle of that cost. Just to go to find one on eBay, such as through Roger. Is there a standard of process that for something like that size? We're talking about a $400,000 vehicle or slightly yet less. Is there some type, a legal process that that would preclude us from doing what they were talking about, or not?
No.
There's no
No,
bidding. There's no-
but you would want to, let's say that, it's like buying a used car.
Right.
I mean, if you're buying a GM, before you buy it, you'd probably take it to a GM dealer and say, could you go through the car and make sure everything on that car is okay? Same thing, you would take that to the original manufacturer and say, go through that truck and tell us what needs to be done to that truck,
Okay,
so that you can negotiate a price then.
okay.
And state bid, I agree with you, Mike, state bid prices are cheaper than manufacturer listed retail price, but they're not gonna be half the cost of a new one. I mean, they knock some stuff off it, that is nowhere near, and so, I'm just up for whichever, if the used one works, super, if it doesn't, we could stay with the original proposal, not a big deal.
Yeah, the idea of, we've used ours for such a long time, and it's the lifespan of it. And then they're claiming that it can't be fixed. Well, if for $200,000, can it be fixed as good as the used one we're going to get?
Yeah.
If you're putting $200,000 into the one we have, is it going to be just as good as a used one that we find that has to be either repaired or is it good? But how long is it going to be good? Is it good for 1 year? Then we got to buy another one.
Well, yeah, that's why you look at the hours of operation and stuff like that. There's a whole process that you would go through buying a used vehicle versus a new vehicle, obviously.
Right.
You wouldn't just say, well, that's a good price, I'll take it. You would want somebody to go through that truck.
I think Roger did look through the hours in that. There was a situation where I think the one he was looking at was a contractor that had went down after a hurricane that was doing the job and ended up going belly up or something, or was it, a vehicle repo or something?
Was it a flood victim?
No, the vehicle wasn't a flood victim, but it was a situation where I think the contractor wasn't able to pay the. But anyhow,
You never
Yeah.
know.
okay.
I've got the one, and according to this, there were 3, and I take the installation of gate operators, those are they're talking about the electrical associated with that, and there's 3 of them. The total cost is $17,604, or $5,868 a piece. So taking 10,000 off would probably, if we're taking 2 of them off,
Two of
Would
those.
that would be enough?
that would be, yeah, I don't think I'd go anymore, because this
No.
quote is from October of last year.
Okay,
Right.
so it did come with a quote for 3
Yeah,
power operated
three,
mechanical gates.
Exactly.
So
The
10
fence itself was 21 grand, and then 17,604
For the mechanical
was
gates.
for the 3 mechanical
Okay,
gate operators.
Okay, that's fine then. Thank you
Yeah.
for looking that up.
Yeah.
That helped.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I think no more than 10, yeah. Off.
So I think you're good with a 10 reduction, and then this way you got a little cushion in there in case
So
they
it's, so it
bump
still
up their...
leaves, so that.
Their
it's-
price.
Yeah,
Right.
normally at the first of the year, people raise their prices
Sure.
if they're gonna raise them, so.
Okay,
Do you wanna take the 10?
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Take the
I'm
10,
okay with
leave-
that.
leaves 25 in there, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
And then the other one was the building repairs for that back building, that extra building, right? We talked about moving it down from 10 to 5.
It was total repairs for that back building and repairs to the main building as far as like doing insulation of the second floor roof and so forth and so on.
Oh, we did take the 5 on that one.
Okay, so we already did that.
Yeah,
Okay.
you already took the 5.
Okay,
And did all of those required repairs get completed then 100%?
Yep.
The electrical stuff and everything?
Everything that was
That were
cited
from
under...
before?
Cited under PESH, they're all
Uh-huh.
done.
I mean, I
And
know,
we got a clear, and we got a letter from them saying that everything's been done appropriately. and
I know that building needs needs a lot of work, but
This
there's,
building doesn't, that we own.
well, but that's the problem, is what building doesn't need a lot of work?
Right.
I don't know.
We have that
What does he
building.
plan on doing with 5 then, I guess?
Well, I think he was, when we took Roger and I took a walk around there, that second building off to the side, I don't know if he was cited for that to get light in there. I mean, there's no lights at all in there. So I think that was
No, all the things that we were cited for. are
oh,
done.
okay. Well,
They're all
then,
done.
it was
Yeah,
just
those-
something that, I guess there's no lights at all and it's a
Right.
safety issue.
The thing is, if you allot 5,000 as an appropriation for a line item, the department head has to look at it and say, okay, what can I get done out of my laundry list of things that need to get done? What can I get done for 5,000? And then the next year, they'll attack the other 5,000. They'll be back
All
here
right, that's fine.
asking
Take
for
out 5.
5,000.
I'm okay with 5. Are you?
yeah, I'm perfect, yeah,
Yep.
Yep. Take it.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
okay, and then did we talk about the replacing Rescue 14? Was that did we do that on Wednesday? I just have a bunch of Post-its in here, and I can't remember when we had the discussion.
We did discuss it and my thought is we're replacing a tanker this year. With a rescue truck, that's just the rescue truck cost. You have cost of outfitting it with the equipment, radios. I don't know if that was a plan of more revenue source. And if you look at that way, then, I don't know as if they're looking, it wasn't in this budget, but I would assume if you have more vehicles to do the transport to try to do revenue, you would ask for more employees to make that process work. I'm not saying, I'm just,
According to Ryan, this vehicle's needed. The vehicle that it's replacing is, they're gonna use it as a standby, but it's in rough shape.
we don't use it as our main responding vehicle. The problems we've been having in the past, it wasn't because of vehicle breakdowns. It was our mainline vehicle that we just got, Rescue 15, had to go back for an entire paint job, and that took like over a month. You could say, based on our rescue calls, we could use 4 ambulances, but it's just not feasible. And
That's it.
I just think,
I think Ryan's able to man them all right without, and keeping that vehicle. I think it is a revenue,
Producer.
yeah, it is a revenue producer, that department. It's,
Just so that you know, just from a historical perspective, that tanker has been on there for probably 6-7 years now.
right,
And that's something that they use to fight fires in the town.
that's right.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I don't want to take the tanker off. I think.
no, that's an ISO requirement.
Right.
Because of our response out in the town, we
Mhm.
have to have that.
Right.
And we have to have certain equipment, and we do. And I realize it might be a revenue source, but
I think they're paying, the volunteers are paying for half the tanker, correct?
Well, right now, we're hoping that since the capital reserve account that they get 17.5% of the town contract put into, they would, and that's supposed to go toward replacement of equipment, heavy equipment. So we're hoping that they pay. If you look at the schedule, the 90 here is in the capital reserve. That's the shared account between the village and the fire department.
Okay.
So we're saying that they're paying 50% for both the tanker and the rescue 14.
Oh, yeah, so they're paying 50% for both.
Do you have a detailed breakdown for the town
I think we should
contract
leave
for
them
the
both
fire
in.
department?
What do you mean by detailed breakdown?
Well, I have a copy of the town budget, and it just gives the sum of the total amount of money that's in the contract, and there's no detail. So,
Yeah, there is no detail anymore. Mike, the last board decided to just charge a random number, and I warned them that once you do that, you stray off the number, and now there's no numbers backing what you're charging them. They actually reduced the amount that the numbers calculated out to be. I think it was like by 40,000 or something like that. So there are no numbers. In the past, what I did was I broke out all of the numbers, personnel, all of the related personnel costs as far as pensions and
Yeah.
healthcare and all of that kind of stuff. All of their supplies, hoses, ladders, all of that stuff, gas, everything you see on the budget for the fire
Right.
off. And it got rolled up in, and then what you have is they account for approximately 34% or 33% of the village, their assessed value versus the total assessed value of
Yes.
the village and the town is approximately 33%, so they pay 33% of the cost, the total overall
Yeah.
cost. So there's, if you look in the file downstairs, in the past, I've always provided them a booklet with everything broken out and gave that to them and said, this is
Yeah.
the basis behind the number we're asking for. But since they did what they did, there's no basis for the number anymore.
Which board,
Okay.
both boards, our board or their board requested?
This was, I think, a 3 or 4 year contract. It was a board that was in place
Prior.
3 or 4
It was a
years ago.
3-year,
before
because they
us.
negotiated it right around when I started.
3?
I think it was Joe Siri.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I guess my question was, which board requested to have no detail, ours or theirs?
They were talking between the two, they had 2 members from the
Oh, so
town,
it was a
2 members from the village, and then they would bring back to the respective boards.
Oh. so it
And,
was a-
and that's what they decided, the board, the sitting board at that time decided to do that, so.
Okay, so it might have been a combination of both boards having a
Correct.
decision on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was more like a negotiations, which I don't know whether that should be a negotiation since it's a solid number that we're expending, that any time you give them a break, that means just that the village ratepayers will pay more per thousand for fire protection than the town does for the same service. So.
Yes.
And I know that we have it broken out, the rescue truck, when they go into the town to service for a rescue event,
Mhm.
like a medical event.
Yes.
If you live in the town, you don't have to pay, like if you have, let's say an ambulance ride costs you on your insurance $150 to get to the hospital,
Mhm.
we waive that if we transport. So we have that broken out, and that's saved their residents quite a bit of money.
Right.
Yes, it
Not
did.
Yes.
having to pay that deductible on their
Mhm.
insurance for that transport, they were relieved of that.
Mhm.
So, there's a substantial savings there. I mean, it doesn't show up as revenue on our side, but it's a savings to the taxpayer.
I see.
So, where do you guys stand on Rescue 14 then? What's your thoughts?
Based on what Rick said, I think we should keep it in there.
I think so,
I
too.
believe we should keep it in. Yeah.
If we're
you
sharing
made a
the
funny
cost.
face.
Oh, no, I was making it at him because I had to move that. Like right over
Oh, I see, you can hear him?
because I moved that, makes that squeaky noise.
Okay.
No, I think we should leave it in.
Mhm, I
Yeah,
agree,
you agree?
Yeah.
Michael agrees
Yes.
too?
Both of them, the tanker and the replacement, the
Mhm.
Rescue 14?
Mhm.
I have a question as far as bonding, and it wouldn't just include this here. I mean, everything we have, I don't know where we stand on our bonding ability, whether we're reaching our limits, whether we're still good, because we still have or it's probably gonna be more than 5.3 million at the waste, or at the reservoir, once we have to do the work there. We basically doubled our debt service with the projects we have currently on the books. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where I kind of like, this is my kind of logic, if, kind of like push things out maybe a little bit here, and, I don't know. But if we could get a handle on what that means, and if we're gonna reach that soon or not.
Well, that really is a, let's see, here's your debt schedule.
Don't we get a rating
mean-
every year, like we are rated?
Yeah, we're
we're
rated
really
by
good.
Moody's.
We are
Moody's
rated really
gives
good.
us a bond rating, so,
And early in the budget, that question came up, and you mentioned that we had a really good shape as far as our
Just so you
bond
know.
limit, you said. I mean, that's what you stated. I'm just wondering if that's,
Get too excited.
he works like, wait a minute.
Get too excited, it's freezing.
Okay, I mean, I want us to look forward down the road where
No, I
how it's gonna
understand.
affect us. I
Right.
mean, we could bond a whole bunch of stuff right now, and then
Yeah.
once they start
Coming
coming
due.
to fruition, it's like, holy cow,
Right.
now we can't do a major project that we need to do because I don't want to be over leveraged.
yeah, you got $6.2 million in debt out there right now.
Right.
With more coming.
What's an average amount of debt for a village our size? Is there an average? Is there a, sort of a number
An
that's?
acceptable percentage
Right.
like that.
We're on capital.
I really don't know the answer to that. I
Curious
assume
if there
it's
is
all over
one.
the
Capital
board.
improvements.
I mean, you
And
want-
and what I was
Fire-
saying, what
fire
Doug
department
is
right now, again.
referring to, I'm just thinking that, it's going to be the underwriters of bonds reviewing your financial statements and saying, do they have the ability to repay
back.
those loans,
Mhm.
Right.
those bonds?
Now, with the water thing though, yeah, that just comes out of the, that department. It's
Yeah, it
Are there
doesn't-
separate,
doesn't matter.
ratings
It's still
for the
an
three funds?
analysis that's done based on your financial
Right, your
condition.
ability.
They don't look at where it's coming from. It looks at your demographics. What do people in the village make? How
Mhm.
much they're paying in taxes? How much
Mhm.
the village has in reserves? How much, all of that stuff goes into a big hopper.
Oh, yeah.
And you can have some underwriters that get spooked and say, you know what, underwriting at a bank and say, we're out of the game, we're not willing to take risk, or what's gonna happen is your interest rates are gonna climb,
Mhm.
and you're not gonna get the favorable interest rates that you currently get. So,
Right.
there's a couple avenues that they do to kind of put the brakes on you, tap
Mhm.
the brakes a little bit,
Mhm.
and they'll start letting you know you're reaching your bonding limits, and that you're gonna start, because right now, we only have 3 banks that actually bid on our bonds.
Mhm.
And one is so far out left field that we don't even, I always go to them to try to keep them in the game,
Keep 'em- right.
but their bond rate is so far out of whack with the other 2 that it's,
Is
we
that
really
our
only have
choice,
2.
is that these are the only banks that would do it?
Those are the only banks that are out there for us at this point in time. They're the only ones. When you throw it out there on the market, they're the only ones that come in and bid.
Yeah, I guess
There's some that are really conservative. They'll bid on some of your smaller stuff, but they don't want to touch anything that's big. Like, I just got done doing a bond last week for $1.6 million. I mean, I had 2 banks that came in, and the third one didn't even bother to bid. Only 2 banks came back.
But Jim and Kara and Mike, those are my thoughts behind when we bond something, what our debt ratios can
Right.
be. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
certainly
sure.
applies in your own personal finances too, whether you are able to get a loan on something and what your interest
That's
rates are
right.
gonna be, so.
Yeah, you're right.
Right now, for next year, just so that you know, I just want to make sure everybody understands this. The principal that you're paying on your debt is $734,000. Your interest is $193,000 for a total debt service of $927,000 that you're paying for debt service. And again, I guess everybody knows, because anybody that follows interest rates are climbing.
Yeah,
They're
the
trying
Prime,
to-
did the prime go up too, and that affects it, right?
Yeah, everything is, all the interest rates are going up. Everything like home mortgages and that type of stuff, they're all climbing because they see inflation coming down the line. So I just want everybody to know that that's where you are. It's almost $1 million in debt payments alone. And again, another thing, and I know that this board is new with budgets, just because it's appropriated doesn't mean that you have to spend it.
Right.
Okay? You
Right.
still get a second bite at that apple.
When we approve or not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they could go out and say, okay, let's go out and get the pricing on a truck or something like that. Come back to the board, and the board says, no, we're not gonna do that right now. We're gonna push it off to next year or whatever. So you do get a second bite at that apple.
Right.
Okay.
That's a good.
Through the
point.
resolution or the bond resolution?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So that's, once again, I feel comfortable leaving those in there, especially with that second opportunity to keep, if this comes up where we're getting too close to where this is something it's gonna be purchased, we'll see where we're at. I mean, if something else comes into play that means we don't buy it, then we don't buy it.
Because in the fire department alone, with all of that stuff in there, you're looking at $600,000 worth of borrowing. You know, if everything were to go through.
And that
Next
includes,
year alone, next year alone.
that includes the building repairs as well? What you're-
Yeah, and again, nobody knows what that building repair is gonna be.
Gonna
We have
right.
300,000 in there. Now, whether that's enough or not, nobody knows. I mean, it's like when I put 50,000 to fix the steps out in front. I have no idea whether that number is a good number or bad. It's a number. And that's the same thing with the building repairs. I mean, the people haven't even been there to look at the building yet.
Yeah, what you said was 730? Yeah, that's what it comes out to be, those three, 730,000. Between the new tanker, the building repairs, and the new replacement rescue truck, it's 730,000.
595, so about 600. For bonds? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because...
Total expenditure in the department is the 824,000.
That's
That's the total expense in the appropriation in the capital project
Okay.
for the fire hall. Okay?
okay.
And
The
then
what?
of that, 595,000 is what we would borrow if all of that stuff. was-
Okay, I see.
25?
Everything in
Yes,
the
for
bond.
apparatus one,
Okay,
yes.
that's why my numbers.
Okay.
Was there anything else fire department related, Kara? Because I thought there was. Two things, training
Oh, yeah.
and whether or not a lieutenant's position to be added. I don't know if that was in the budget or not, but I know Ryan was talking about that.
Right now, that is in the budget.
The lieutenant's position.
Currently still in the budget.
I thought we were getting rid of the lieutenant.
I never thought that it would stay in. I didn't put it in.
What's that?
I did not put it in. I did not, from the beginning, I said that that's not something that I wanted to do this year.
The lieutenant? So it's not in that,
It
No,
is,
that's in that
obviously.
number.
Yeah, it is.
yeah, no,
I didn't understand that it was going to be.
Yeah,
Okay, where are we now?
I'm okay with not having the
General expense
lieutenant
fire
Okay.
department.
at this point.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, has Ryan discussed any of that with any of you? I don't think it's a good idea at the moment, but his reasoning behind it was for a
It's very good reasons.
backup. Yeah, I mean, there's good
Yeah,
reasons.
he was here, he discussed it,
Yeah,
yeah.
he discussed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing the reasons.
Okay.
But I think,
Okay. So we're gonna pull that.
okay with
But I
pulling the
can't do that
lieutenant?
Yes.
on the fly. I have to
Right.
actually dissect some numbers here.
Let me ask you about the building repairs. You put $300,000.
And
s- eh, is it like impossible to do it like in 2 steps, in 2 stages, like 2
Yeah.
years from one after the other?
No, you don't want to do that, because then you're going to be paying mobilization costs,
Yeah, it's just gonna
and it
be
ends up costing you a lot more money.
Yeah, I can't.
Because what the contractor does, he shows up, he does part of the job, takes down everything that he has, scaffolding, everything,
Right.
moves it all off-site, and then you say, okay, now we want you to come back and do the other side of the building, so then he's got to mobilize all of that stuff, and that stuff is all labor
I
intensive.
meant through a nice negotiations with them, so they finish exactly when.
He's going to charge you because he's got to pay his people. He can't take the hit just because we decided we want to do it in 2 phases. He'll
And
still charge you.
I meant 2 years, so one phase stops in
Yeah.
June, and then the other
Seems-
starts next
the
It's
June.
the same as what he just said. right?
Yeah. Doesn't matter whether you pay your labor this
There's-
year or
there's
you pay
additional
them next
costs,
year,
yeah.
you're going to pay your labor. So if you mobilize once and it takes you 100 hours to mobilize, and now you're going to do it twice, it's going to take you 200 hours to do it. Who's eating 100 hours?
Okay, I didn't mean this,
Yeah.
but probably I'm not explaining myself pretty well, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
no, that's the way it
Sort of
is.
on the idea of like, when we were going to get a top grinder and we were going to have it in 2 different places, and we said it was going to cost us $1,500 to bring it in and then move it to another location, to another $1,500. That's the mobilization of the equipment.
Yeah,
I mean, you're going to,
it's expensive.
it could get expensive to do that. I mean, and my guess is that they're going to have higher costs.
You
waiting
could probably look
another
at the
year.
mobilization costs on projects,
Small
because they
pro-
usually list it, like on big projects, like at the sewer plant that we've done recently, they'll have mobilization costs on there. And basically, that's what the, you know, I
In
mean,
my view, it's not that big of a project. I mean, I know it seems to be costly, but the project itself
right.
isn't that big of a project. We're not talking, like 2 sections of a building. We're talking the exterior of a building, envelope. We're not adding a whole nother building.
I don't know about
I
that.
haven't dug into it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the
I mean,
conditions
those
behind all
those
that is.
studs on there are metal studs that are all
On the
rusted.
tower, maybe, but,
Yeah, we don't know, that's a good point. We don't know what's on the rest of the building. We know what's on the tower, because it fell apart.
Right.
Yeah.
But the rest of the building, we don't know.
Right.
But although they see in their meeting rooms, they see those shadows of the studs, like on the drywall.
The
You can
rusted-
see, so it must be that there's moisture behind there, right? You see those, because they had pictures of them, and when they went through the building, they had pictures of those shadows that show up on the drywall, which means there's moisture behind that wall. So it might be the same situation, but it might not. It may not be the whole building, but it's gonna be certain sections of
But
it.
at least I hope this time we're going to make it weather appropriate
Yeah,
for this
no.
area
Yeah,
and not
okay.
for the south, as
yeah,
it was before.
yeah.
When we were talking about personnel, not having a lieutenant, and then we had talked about going from 3 part-time firefighters to 1. And we hadn't decided on that. That would save about $25,000 according to Ryan.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd be happy having one additional of the part-time firefighters, not just 3. I
That
don't know
makes
how-
sense because we have a retiree coming up and this
Right.
part-time person can be trained and be
Trained.
set to go right into that
Exactly.
position. And instead
And
of
that-
training,
I mean, that's what he explained, and
Yeah.
and it seems smart, a smart way to go. Because we're gonna, I mean, you could wait and then have somebody that, good luck, either finding somebody or.
That's very
or-
smart to have them ready and prepared and taking all the schools and all that.
Right.
Okay.
and I don't feel it's appropriate for us to be training part-time people when we don't have positions for them to walk into and train them, and both medically, EMS-wise, and firematically, and to have them walk into a full-time job somewhere
Somewhere
other than
else.
ours.
Right.
And we should be the other way around. We should be looking to acquire personnel there, trained somewhere else, like they're doing to us.
Right, yeah.
Actually, that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Is that okay then? So we're going down to, and that would save us
Okay.
the 25?
I think that was labor costs only, and then you have pension costs associated with that. They have to be offered pension,
Mhm.
so. The calculations always include pension. But that calculation, I believe, is just, yeah, anybody. Even the kids that come and work in the parks. They have the ability to buy into the pension plan.
That's right,
Because you can buy that back later on in life if you are
Exactly.
a state
Yeah.
employee.
yeah. Correct, that's right.
So, okay, so we're gonna do one part-timer, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
One part-timer and no lieutenant. Right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay,
Mhm.
we can do that.
There, I don't know if you had your notes there, we did discuss the training there where,
Right, I was just looking at that note to myself
That was, okay, then.
for travel training, right? Or
Yeah.
what did we decide, what did we talk about?
we talked about that we pay half for people to go to the New York State Fire Chiefs Convention
Right,
in Verona. And I said, my suggestion was just for the chief, if those other people would like to go, their companies could kick in that other half, I believe. At this point in time, you know, if we weren't in the red as we are, it would be a different story, but it's not.
how did you feel about that, Jen?
The travel
Are they willing
training,
to do it?
Are they willing to do it?
The companies?
I don't know if they're willing to do it, but they could.
it's only,
I didn't yeah, it's just, I don't know if we have to ask them if they're willing to do it. I think our half.
I know, what page is that on? I can't find my stuff in here.
It is
7 of 12.
on general fund expense, 7 of 12, under fire
Under
protection.
fire.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I did write myself a little note.
fire protection.
Yeah.
It's at,
Travel training.
so the mayor has it in there at 4,500, is that right?
That was the original.
The original.
And then you
Correct.
guys
This-
already took 25 out of there. And I
This is
think we wanted to
10,000,
go to
isn't it?
1,000, and I think trustee Essick wanted to go to 1,000.
Can't see that very
Wait
well.
a minute.
I thought we were talking about 2,000.
What are you- wait a minute. You've got.
Well, we weren't sure because we did not know the cost
Right.
incurred on going to a convention and the other things that Ryan had associated with the
Fire
training would be.
protection line
Travel training,
right down here, right?
yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, but it says 4,500.
Yeah, but you guys took 25 off.
We already took 25 off.
So it's at 2,000 right now.
And we were going to bring it up for discussion because we didn't know if that was too much based on, we did
Right.
not know
Right,
the
how much it
cost of
cost.
the convention and some other training that Ryan had for whomever.
Right.
I mean, if it costs somebody $2,000, well, I could even go with 1,000 off of that then. If it costs the Village of Fredonia, both volunteer fire department to send somebody to the fire chiefs convention, $2,000, holy cow, I can't imagine that. So, I don't know. Obviously, the 2,500 might have been too much. I don't know where the rest of the board feels they want to go with that, huh?
What was your proposal, Doug, is to go to 2,000
Go
off?
to 1,000.
I'm sorry.
Go to 1,000.
down.
right?
Yeah, instead of 2,500 that we took off, correct, because we currently are standing at 2,000 from 4,500.
Right.
So we're at 2,000.
Just to reduce the 4,500 by 1,000, I don't know.
Well, is this one of those other things
Oh,
where?
I'm sorry, not 1,000, it should be everybody except, that would cover the fire chief and the additional training.
Mm-hmm,
So, yeah, the 2,500 just reflects the other personnel that were going to be sent to the fire chiefs convention. That's what the 2,500 represented. 3 other positions, I think there was 4 total, that were being sent to the fire chiefs convention.
so you're saying we should pay for the fire chief and that's it?
That would be my thought.
And the other, they can pay for the ed out of whatever fund they have?
Currently,
is what
the
you're
volunteer
saying.
fire department pays half, and the village pays the other half. That was traditionally the way we do it.
Right,
I'm saying the individual fire companies
can pay for it.
could kick in if they so choose. I'm not insinuating that they will. I haven't asked them. I said that's a possibility that they could do that.
And the fire department personnel travel to these locations, do they use fire department vehicles?
Yes, I don't know exactly who does, whether it's the chief at the time that utilizes it. I don't know their,
Usually they've been taking the chief car.
yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure other personnel that can't fit in that take their own.
They usually fill up at the street department before they leave, and then they just have the gas coming back.
I don't know.
So I don't know. I mean, just in this tight budget
And
here.
just so that you know, I mean, you have a contingency account. I mean, I wouldn't sit there and fret over $500. I mean, if you want to take the 500, I'll take the $500. I mean, you got a contingency back in your decisions up, so it's not like you're running bare, okay? You do have a security net under you, just so you know. I mean, you could always forego going to the specific lines and hitting them and go up to your contingency and say, okay, let's take the contingency for 50,000 and take it down to 30,000. Now you've just cleaned out 20,000 off of the entire budget.
You wouldn't have
But
to
the
do
rest
this,
of the
right?
budget, right, the
Yeah.
rest of the budget stays the same.
Right.
Rather than trying to find 20 grand in each of the lines. So, I'm just giving you options, just so that you, just different ways you can
Take it
attack
down
it.
to 1,000, or do you want to keep it at the 2,000?
I don't know.
So that means you can cut it. You can still have a contingency if you needed to cut
Right.
it.
So take it down-
Sure.
Take it down to 1,000.
All right.
Oh, take it to 1,000? Okay.
Take it down.
You on board with that, or you want to leave it at 2,000?
Isn't that what you were also?
Well, we didn't know what the costs were, so that's
Right,
why we
so
left
we
it
were-
at 2,000 total. I mean, you could divide the 4,500 by 4 and come out with like 1,200 or something, but there was
Right, that's true.
some additional training and different things that at the time when you weren't here the other night, Jim, that we
I
thought,
don't know.
whatever, I'll go with whatever.
I mean, I was okay with the 2,000.
I was okay with.
Originally.
Right.
And now we're kind of going back and forth over $1,000. I don't know.
Leave that too.
Well, I think that everybody, I think he's saying leave the 2.
Yeah, I just wanted to explain why we're doing what we're doing.
I was okay with it originally, and all this kind of talking over for nothing. I mean,
Let's leave it at 2.
I
I
was-
thought he wanted to cut another 1,000. I thought that's why the discussion
That's
was.
that's what kind of, when you first started talking, I thought that's what you were insinuating, you wanted to go to another 1,000, or just take down to 1,000. But I was originally okay with the 2,000 that we originally discussed,
The 2,000 is fine.
so leaving the 2,000.
Okay.
We'll leave it at 2,000.
Okay.
So
Anything else?
We'll leave it at 2,000.
Did we talk about DPW personnel?
I think, I explained that in the beginning, but if you wanted to go more,
I'm sorry.
did you want to go? No, the thing was,
Right.
bringing the other guy back.
Right.
That filled that open spot.
Right.
So we wouldn't hire a new guy. The intent before is to promote somebody into the mechanic position. and then you-
internally?
Yeah.
I got,
And,
okay.
and then you would
Okay.
hire from the outside as
Right.
a laborer, but because he's coming back.
Right.
Or he's back,
Right.
he's going right back into that position, so there's no need, there's no promotional opportunity.
In-
for him.
within.
Is he going to be the working supervisor? Because that
No,
was
he's a
the...
mechanic.
So the promotional was for the working supervisor, wasn't it?
Well, that's still in here.
That's still in there.
That's-
Yeah, that has nothing to do with that. I'm talking about adding personnel. We're not adding any personnel at this point in time. The personnel levels will stay the same.
Okay.
See, I thought that we were building in an additional person, even after, because we couldn't replace that one personnel because there was things going on. But I thought we were still adding an additional personnel in this budget.
No,
No.
it was to replace the guy that was gone, that was vacating the position.
Okay, that's
Then
what
you're promoting into
my
that
confusion
position
was.
from within, which leaves an opening at the bottom, and we said we would replace that person at the bottom. So you have to watch, you have to follow the ball, because otherwise you get confused. The thing is you're not increasing personnel levels. You are increasing part-time hours by 2,000 hours. That's in there.
Okay, so the-
And that's 2 additional people part-time for 1,000 hours apiece.
So 2 additional people and a working supervisor.
That's a
Okay.
promotion.
That's the promotion.
That's what I was
Yes.
not sure about.
Okay.
So all our positions would be filled then.
Then all your current
I
positions are
gotcha,
filled.
okay.
Correct.
Yeah, so
And
when
you're
you
picking
promote
it-
somebody to working supervisor, you don't lose a
Right.
position, he's still working.
Right.
He's just in supervisory
Right,
capacity.
Yeah, no, I got that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Anywhere
That's
else?
all. That was everything we talked about, I thought, on Wednesday.
Did anybody have any questions on the DPW backhoe, repurposing that
Oh, yeah.
for the
I believe they
wastewater
still-
treatment
They still
plant?
have some use for it there. I mean, I don't know. Let's see, did we cut out the 75 for the tractor at the DP, or the sewer treatment? Because that's the one you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Right.
We put $10,000 in there to repair the backhoe to go to the street department, or to go to the sewer plant. So we put $10,000 in the sewer plant, right here, for repairs to the backhoe. And we took the $75,000 tractor out because that would take the place of the $75,000 tractor.
And I think that's a good idea, but again, that's gonna, we gotta see how much that would cost to fix. We don't really have an actual
You're-
hard number yet, right? But,
I can't imagine a turbo or whatever would be more than $10,000. I'm not a mechanic, but holy cow. It didn't appear when Perry told us the other day, when we walked through there, that that was that serious. I mean, there was a turbo problem, but I mean, he still wanted to use it. They just couldn't use it on a daily basis and have it be reliable like they needed it to be. And here would be much limited usage and hopefully not the
Now,
stress.
The one that they're using at the sewer treatment plant now, I mean, it's still working, right?
I
Yes.
think it's shot, isn't it? Is it still working?
She said
Perry
there's
said
some
it's still
issues with
working.
it.
No, the one
Oh,
that's
there,
currently
yeah,
at the
that
sewer
thing
plant.
is like old. That's like about 1950.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't
It-
work.
So it's not working at all?
No, it's not working.
I think that one's shot.
So
No,
we-
that's-
so
that
we-
was-
So we can get rid of that one then.
Yeah.
And then, so, now, as long as they don't happen, to I mean, if it's, we don't have to use this backhoe for any purpose at the,
That was the intent on buying a new wheeled excavator to
right, they
replace
can
it.
use that in place of the backhoe.
Oh,
Right.
that's right. Oh, that's right, no, that's correct.
Right. Because originally they wanted a backhoe. And then they said, well, then they got to test drive one of those wheel excavators, and they liked that better than the backhoe, so they went with that one, which was, I think that was a $95,000 purchase.
Mhm.
And then they had another tractor that was $135,000, 140, someplace like that. Yep.
Well,
So it makes sense to repurpose it.
I think we should repurpose
We
it.
fixed it.
I see.
I think there's no reason we shouldn't.
Yep.
When Jim and I went to the Town of Pomfret meeting, they were receptive to the repairs. They wanted to have Jude and Perry and myself and Jim go check the things out and see if things could be done in-house and how severe they were. But earlier that night, Jim, we had taken out the parking lot part of that until maybe a following year, so I,
When I wasn't here, I was over there, you guys
Yep.
were here.
so,
Yeah.
is that,
The parking lot, well, when you were there at the town, they explained that, of course, their budget is done at a different time than ours, so they've already budgeted, they didn't budget for any additional this year, so they have the 10,000 that they usually give us. So, and the thoughts of the roofs were probably the most important
Yep.
repair. But they were wondering if there's any way they could work with us to get some of this work done in-house at all, in any way, on either project, but particularly, getting what we can, the most amount out of that 10,000 this year, and then next year, look at trying to figure out what we can do for the rest, and then.
Well, you're always going to have that off. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but they're
they've already-
informed this year for next year, because they would consider what they can do in the next year's budget, is what they said. So,
The next year's budget in December?
right, because they start, their budget goes, right, they do theirs in December, and so
But
that they
their
would.
budget starts in January, which is still part of our current fiscal year.
Right.
So we could still get paid from them for that fiscal year during their
They mean
fiscal year.
their next year and our current.
Yeah, their
Right.
next year
It
and
would be
our
it would-
current.
Right. That would be their next year's and our current, right.
Right, well, no,
So we.
no, they would be into our next year, just like we would be into their next year. Because this money is not going to be spent in the current fiscal year, it's going to be spent next fiscal year.
When I said current, that's what I meant, June and after.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, that's
the
what I
new,
meant.
the new budget.
Yeah, the new budget.
But our budget spans through, 5 months
Right.
of their budget. So their budget, they can appropriate 19,000 for the roofs and still be within our fiscal year here.
And I think that's what they're going to do. Because they can appropriate them in
Right.
the next budget, which is going to be January, but it still is going to be our
Right.
current budget, let's say,
Right.
at the time. So.
So we
it's
could
gonna
have
be
those
okay with
roofs
us.
done this summer, just we won't get paid from the town until January,
Until
February,
January.
Which is
March,
fine.
April, anytime in there is fine.
Right.
I mean, it still
They
hits
did-
our financial statements
Right.
in the correct fiscal year of the village. And I
Yeah.
thought that this was also, this price that they gave us was to have the roofs on the dugout built by BOCES.
By BOCES.
Oh.
I did explain that. to them.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did explain that
Yeah.
for the dugouts.
So we'd only be buying materials.
Right.
That's
Right.
awesome.
So,
But as far as the parking lot, Jim, I mean, I had no idea that you thought, or they might look into seeing if it can be done in-house with the personnel that we have in the town and the village.
right,
But we don't have a milling machine. I mean, there's still be cost to it. The only thing that you could do in-house is maybe truck the blacktop and help with the paving, I guess. I don't know.
yes. I don't know, but that didn't seem to be something that they'd be able to do right away. They said if we could split it up, is what they
Yeah,
they
and that's,
mentioned splitting it up.
that's kind of what we did before I went to the
So,
meeting there.
right,
like
so
the-
taking the 10,000 out and doing the rest would be, is that what you guys, you said you took out?
No,
10,000?
taking out the paving, or taking out replacing of the parking lot is what
Yeah,
we
the
decided
parking lot.
not to do this. The
Not the
38,000
10,000.
for the roof repairs, I mean,
So in
correct me
other
if
words,
I'm wrong.
they would be appropriating next year, the town, let's talk about the town. The town would be appropriating a normal 10 plus an additional 19. So they would appropriate 29 instead of their normal 10. In the village, that's what we're doing here. We're doing our 10 plus an additional 19, so we're doing 29 also. So that gives you $58,000, whatever that is.
But, yeah, I didn't realize June was
$38,000.
gonna come up with saying maybe we can do it in-house and cut it down a whole lot either, but at this point, before we got over there, that was something we thought it could be patched up, whatever, repaired, and then replaced next year.
Mhm.
Kara and Mike,
I think
Yeah.
we should probably do it that way.
That makes sense.
I-
Makes sense.
I think so.
I agree.
So what we currently have up there is right, if I'm understanding that right?
yes,
There is
19.
there is no parking lot.
this year.
So,
Yeah.
right, so it should be 19 then, right?
Yeah, and we got 19 in there.
Mhm.
Yep.
But it's actually 38 because the town's portion
Correct.
is 19. And then we still have our normal 10 to do other things that that need to get done up there. Like patchwork to the tennis courts, basketball courts, stuff like that. We usually have some type of electrical problem out there every year.
Oh.
So, there's different things that need to get done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anything else there?
I don't have anything else, Kara. Was there anything else on
I
your
thought
list?
that was everything. I thought we hit everything that we talked about.
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and everybody's okay with the new part-time person here at the inspection? Okay, everybody's okay?
So it's going to be a clerk?
Yeah, part-time clerk. Clerk typist. It's called clerk typist.
And there isn't enough to put in another, because Steve's gonna be moving up to the next.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
He just moved into where he is.
Okay, so we're gonna get one part-time clerk typist in there, and we could use more in that department, but we're losing a lot of revenues because being backlogged,
Not enough
you
people.
can't make that money up.
You can't,
I mean, that's the problem, is that once they pass that year, you can't go back and schedule them for last year's.
No.
When you lose revenue, when the loss of revenue is higher than an employee, there's a problem.
Steve's out there, he's pounding it. He's
He is
pounding the
now.
pavement. He's doing good.
Thankfully, he has his certification now, so, for that, so it should be a big difference on revenue side this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, he did about 100 units today.
Today,
What'd you say?
He did about 100 units today.
Wow.
Oh, did he do the ones down there? Yeah.
he's one ambitious young man.
He is.
Holy
Yeah, I'm
smokes.
telling you, he's moving.
He was
great.
He was almost falling down when I
Yeah.
saw
I
him.
bet.
That's the type of
And now if he doesn't
department
have to come
people we
back
need. He is
and
ambitious.
do all the
Yeah,
paperwork,
he can't do
We're
that.
lucky to
he
have him.
Yeah,
can't.
he can't.
That's,
He can't expect it.
that's, and that's what I'm saying, if he has somebody to do it here,
And eventually, maybe you have to go to a full-time person.
I think we will.
I'm thinking we
yes,
probably will
at
have to
some point,
eventually.
Yeah,
yes.
eventually. I mean, you
I'm
could
good with the
easily-
part-timer, but I
Right.
think I wouldn't take that part-timer out, but I certainly look forward to that department.
And it's-
Hopefully, we get enough growth and development where that it becomes necessary.
Right.
That's the idea. But it's going good, so.
And I would like to at some point discuss the possibility of, instead of doing the whole work the way we're doing it, we can go to fines by tickets. Like if you go by, your grass is not cut, instead of coming here and sending a letter, how about leaving a ticket right there? The way we do it, parking tickets. I think it's going to be cheaper and it's going to be more effective. And have some set rates, some set fines.
So I'll ask you, are you planning on raising taxes? Or are you good where we are?
I think given what we've started before this meeting and what we've accomplished with this meeting, I think there's no need to.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna notify the county to start, working on our tax form, if everybody's okay with that. What do you need, the tax rate, Jim?
No, we still haven't gone over anything in the department heads.
Okay.
Is that the only area we haven't gone through?
What section would that be, Jim?
I think, are we planning on raising taxes? I think the answer is no.
Okay,
Right?
No,
that's
I
good,
mean-
because
Okay.
No.
Lori's daughter, the reason that I said that is Lori's daughter is having babies,
Oh,
so.
wow.
She's gonna
Aw.
be heading out to Arkansas, so
Oh, nice.
Okay.
she's the tax collector, so she needs to notify the county to get going on the taxes. We need to have a tax rate to give them.
Okay.
Regardless of where we're at, I think we're in good shape. Personally, I think, without speaking for anybody else, I think we're in pretty
Okay.
good shape. I don't believe there's a need to raise taxes.
I agree.
I think there's enough fund balance and it's still be in a comfortable position, and we're not gonna be,
And something that I want to clarify for the paper, hello? For the
Yes.
paper, the budget was never in the hole. Even when I started, when it was $2.5 million inside the fund balance, we were not in the hole. Even at that point, we were in the black.
you could have adopted it as was.
So now it's much better, obviously. I cut myself over about $1.5 million. So they cut much more. So I just want to make sure that people understand, we were never in the hall.
What does an operating loss mean?
We're going into the, we don't making the money that we spent, but we have the savings. You are in the hole when you go over the savings.
It says appropriations exceed revenue resulting in a fund operating loss of
Mhm.
$835,000. That means we were already starting off, we're exceeding our spending by our revenues.
I
That's
don't
a loss.
dispute that, but when you say it's in a hole, you mean that overall, you don't have the money to cover it. We are
Yeah,
inside
it's-
the
it's
fund
semantics.
balance.
It's semantics. Semantics are, the budget for the current year is in the hole. Overall, the budget's still black. As
That's
far
what I
as
mean.
having the,
Because people
the
think
fund
that we are in the
balance
red, so that's what
Because
I
instead of
meant.
raising taxes, we're just going into the reserves
right.
just to
you're-
cover
you're-
our
right, you're-
expenses.
You're covering your expenses.
But
But we
with
still
fund
have a
balance.
healthy reserve fund.
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, with that?
Yeah, hopefully revenues will be up next year too, because they're anticipated going up. Revenues
so.
will be anticipated going up this year,
Mhm.
and hopefully our, you know,
And we all need to work on revenue increase sources and
of course. we
increase our
do.
revenues.
Yeah, this is a,
I do that
every day.
Well, I mean, well-
Trying to find revenues, yeah. Revenue streams is a key factor for all communities. Doesn't matter who we are. You know. Do we have to go in?
Possibly. So you're okay with, do we need to review the department heads or the personnel you were saying?
Is department, under that, do we, is that something we, because there's particular people in, I mean, to each one of the department heads, do we have to go into executive session for that, or is that something we do openly? I don't know.
I don't remember.
If you want to go in, if you're going to discuss certain people's by name.
I don't see we need to.
Huh?
No? Or do? I don't know.
I don't know, I said if there are names, then you have to.
Oh, I see, right.
That's right.
You got four,
We
you
made
got
it.
four, we'll just do it. There's four supervisors, or four department heads. That's them, right up there on the screen. You got the police chief, the administrator, the fire chief, and the chief, or the Department of Public Works supervisor. Those are the only four supervisors you have.
So, and the things that we have to, that would make any increases would be longevity pay or percentage of.
No, you have no control over the longevity pay.
That's contractual?
That's contractual.
Is it? I thought a number of years ago, they didn't, there was some times when they didn't do that. Not that I'm questioning,
No.
I'm just saying that,
No, that's always been in the department heads.
I thought the Sullivan years that he removed that
No.
at some point. No?
How does the longevity work again?
It's like in tiers.
Right, so,
So I think it's, I don't have the department head schedule. You want me to go grab that?
no, I was just curious, like
It's
every,
like, I think it starts at 5 years, 5
Okay.
to 10, and then 10 to 15,
Okay.
15 to 20.
All right.
And it goes up by, I don't even know the tiers, but they don't go up by much. I think that when they do go up, I think it's like $200 or something in each tier that you go up.
yeah, 'cause we have it as well in ours, but I didn't know how it
Yeah.
was different in different people's contracts.
And that's what I think it is. I think it's 5-year spans, and it doesn't start until the 5th year
Mhm.
is the first year you get it. And then
Okay.
and it stays the same for 5 to 10 years, and then 11 to 15 is another tier,
Okay,
and that's how it goes.
all right.
And you could say, I guess, if you look at mine at 13 years is 2,400, and somebody like the DPW supervisor is 2,500, and he's got 30 years in, so it's
Right.
only $100 difference.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, at 30 years, so.
right.
So that,
Yeah,
How many years do you have?
13,
You have 13?
So from 13 to 30 is $100?
$100.
Could you get your tops?
Don't spend it all in one place, Rick.
I think once you hit, I think it's once you hit 25 years, it's it plateaus. You're at the top,
Right.
and it's that 25.
Oh, absolutely. But it stays the same until the next 5 years.
Okay, so yeah, it's the next 5 years. then it'll-
Right.
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 So it stays,
Mhm.
it's this amount for 5 years, and then it's this amount for 5
Okay,
years.
so how?
Yeah, it
how-
doesn't move.
You don't know how long has it been at the level? Well, each one is different.
'Cause it's
depending on where
contract.
we're hired, right?
Right, right.
So it's 5 years.
Brad, I think, police chief has 20 years, I think. So his is at 25. And like I said, once you hit 25, it plateaus. You're at $2,500. It doesn't matter if you work 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, $2,500.
Yeah.
And that's additional to what the previous year was.
What's that?
And that's in addition to.
It's annual.
Right, it's an annual.
Yeah, it's an annual.
Amount of funding, however you want to call it.
Yeah, that's what longevity is. It's an annual.
It's just a bonus
So-
for people who stick around.
Right.
So and does that, is that, when you bonus that on there, is that then added to the previous year's wages and then as a total, and then the next year's is added on top of that?
No, longevity doesn't get included in your base wages.
So
That's what I was
stipend?
wondering.
Yeah, there's not a roll-up of that
It's not a
longevity.
roll-up.
No.
That's what I wanted to.
Yeah, no, it's not a roll-up.
Okay, so the base wage. would
And
be-
that includes every contract in the village. There's no roll-up of that pay. So you get paid longevity, it's longevity. It doesn't say, okay, your longevity equates to $1 an hour, so next year your rate just went up $1 an hour. And that doesn't work that way. You get the longevity, doesn't affect the rate.
Mhm. And we are going into the reserve fund, even though we're still in the black, but we're in the reserve fund. We have so the only thing that we have on this page would be then the percentages of increase.
Correct. Yeah, that's the only thing that
Right.
that
And,
has changed.
And that would be, okay.
Are those also contractual?
The percentage of increase is not contractual?
No, that's an annual thing that you decide.
And that
The only
number-
thing that's in the contract is the longevity.
Okay, I just was wondering.
That's it.
And that number was something that the mayor had discussed at all, or no?
I did not discuss it, no.
Discuss what?
The 3%?
Oh,
Not this year.
yeah.
Okay. I know, it's a tough one, because we are going into the reserve fund on that.
Michael, what do you think? Do you have anything to comment on?
Paying close attention.
You are?
Because we can, it's something that's not contractual that we could eliminate this year.
And just so you know, that's the total increase right there,
Where?
right here.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you look at that number right there, that's the total increase, which will not balance your budget.
No, it's not going to balance the budget. But we
You're
did.
600 and something thousand in the hole.
I don't know.
I know we've been eating away at each department. That's a total, that'd be a total of 7,000. 7,000 a 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 7,000 a
What has been the percentage increases over the last 10 years?
No idea.
So
We've had
year by year?
zeros, we've had ones, it's been all over the board.
Okay, that answers my question, Motion.
Yeah, I
I-
don't have that, I don't
Yeah.
keep track of that type of detail.
I think where we're at with the other departments and stuff, we're cutting from the fire department, and whether it be a lieutenant or anything like that, or even part-timers, I think we should probably hold off on that this year, in my opinion.
You've given the salary, the hourly people 2.5, just to bring it back to reality. The other contracts have 2.5 in them.
Those are by contract, yeah.
Right. Those are contractual, right, but in those contracts, they're 2.5.
Well, what would be the difference in the total if we did 2.5 instead of 3? Just out of curiosity.
We're gonna change those to 2.5. Hang on one second. Bear with me, because it's going to another spreadsheet to grab that.
I'm open for discussion. My thought is, you were just saying, Jim, we've cut into the different departments, so
But also,
so in addition, you're saying to cut the department heads as well.
well, I also looking at, there's, I think there's areas that we need to consider needing more employees. We're gonna need some, I'm thinking that coming up, if we're where we're at now into the fund balance this year, yeah, we've not raised in taxes this year, but I'd like to be, like you said, looking into the future. The building code enforcement department's gonna be needing some more people down the road here, but I believe that, down in the clerk, village office downstairs, whether it be an additional clerk of some sort, would be extremely beneficial. We've been long talking about the possibility for economic development, like someone
To work on all that
work
kind
on
of
grants
stuff.
and all those kinds of things. We'll never get there if we keep beating things up all along the way. We have to find some place to put these people. If we keep raising, if we don't want to look at raising taxes. If we're trying to raise revenues, we don't want to raise taxes to do it, but we have to find ways to make it happen. If we don't have the personnel to do that, it'll never happen. And then you're eventually going to have to raise taxes, and you'll still be in the same boat, and everybody's still going to want more money. I mean, a lot of, like the contractual parts are things that you kind of have to do. So I think we're going to have to work where we can. I'm not saying do it every year by far. I'm saying we're kind of heading in the right direction. I feel that of getting the village straightened out, but there's still we're short in many departments here.
Last year, I'll give you an idea of the percentage of increases of the department heads. Police chief was 2.25, administrator, clerk, treasurer was 2.25, chief plant operator, 0, public works supervisor, 0. Who was the other one?
The police?
Police chief, 2.25.
I thought he didn't get anything last year.
I don't think he got anything.
Did we?
This is from our adopted budget for last year.
That's why that's here, but I don't remember.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm in my other budget, it's at home from last year.
That page is missing from my packet. So I see.
Opposed. Did we take that out?
I think we did.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was proposed.
The department heads.
What would that be under?
And it's been been done before, and then go to zero. And then
Done.
the personnel, we're trying to find ways to add help in the
Got it.
department. I need to add help in.
Oh,
It's not a, that's not even a part-time person, but it's working towards one. I think that's how we're gonna do it.
you're at 9,000, Karen, 9,018. If you go to 2.5.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah. It'll go up. At 3, at 7, or
Okay.
at 2.5.
85, 89.
85, 89, okay.
Yep.
85, 89.
Yes.
Or, wait a minute. How did it go up?
No, it went down. It was 9749, now it's 85,
It was
89. If we cut
9,000.
it, if we do 2.5%
It was
instead of
9,000
3.
and change.
Oh, I don't have
97.
Ryan's on this, that's why.
Yeah, it's not in here with me. It's not on mine either.
So we went down $1,000 by
Yeah, 1,200 bucks.
$1,200
I don't know where you guys are, but I just,
between 4 people.
Yes.
well, that's if you did that.
Correct.
Hmm?
Not easy to change these things on the fly. Where is that pulling at the number from?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm still, like I said, I'm looking at, trying to initiate some extra help into, over this year. Maybe we could try to find ways to get,
I would like to get some help so we can, move forward with some of these things.
Sounds
That's difficult for us to do because I feel like we're shorthanded. But
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to do that. I don't know if that's will make the difference.
it's a tough area, but I think that's, it's still, you're still talking,
With the rest of the board, I know, like last week, Karen, Jim wasn't here for a decision. Would you feel comfortable, or would you be okay with next time we meet with Roger, everybody being here to discuss this? Because I think he might want to
when do we? and then-
Yeah, when could we do that?
No.
Wednesday.
My book here, but I think so.
Wednesday at, depends on what time.
I don't, crap, I don't remember having my. Should have bring my-
We'd
I didn't think we were gonna be here
previously
Wednesday.
scheduled for 5 PM.
Well, maybe I did schedule it then.
Okay, so you can't really do Wednesday.
Oh, you previously scheduled for that, or we?
We had agreed
had a agreed.
previously
Oh, did
for 5
we?
PM on Wednesday.
Oh, I don't
maybe
have that in my
book then.
calendar.
Could we?
Is there any chance we could meet earlier?
I couldn't do it earlier, no. 5 maybe, but.
I'm not sure
I
if I,
can
I'm not sure if
do
I can meet on Wednesday. If you guys want to meet,
Well,
I don't know, I
yeah,
know.
but that's the idea of having. the
Right, I
project.
know.
What time do you get out of work?
I got to work at 3:30. I just want to give Roger the same consideration. to
Right.
review.
No,
I agree.
understand.
I absolutely agree.
And he may still have some questions on some of the things we discussed tonight as well.
We
Other
need to
than
have this
this.
wrapped up by Monday, right? That's what we're trying to do?
By the 18th or something like that?
That's what we're talking about Monday?
And we were talking about Wednesday.
Wednesday is the 18th.
Oh, this,
I mean, if all you got is this to talk about, I don't know, is there other stuff that you want to talk about?
I don't, there's anything else
I
I
mean,
need
if
to
this
talk
is
about.
it,
I
I mean,
think we went
that's,
through everything else pretty
Yeah.
well.
Why don't you plan on meeting, and if I can finagle it, then I will. And if not, then I can just touch base with you.
What's the earliest people can meet?
I mean, I could be here at 3:30.
Yeah, he can be here around 3:30, right after work.
You get out at 3?
3:30.
You get out at 3:30? And you would get out?
I could be here at 3:30. I'm done at 3.
I could be here at 3:30.
Let me look at my schedule and if there's a conflict, otherwise
I mean, I could meet for like an hour.
Yeah, I don't think this would
I don't think it's
be,
even gonna take
just
all
wrap it
even
up with
that.
Roger.
Maybe not
If he has
even
any
an
other
hour.
Final,
Maybe.
Right.
I would hope not, but,
You want to meet Wednesday at 3:30?
that would be fine with me.
give it a go.
Sure.
All right, are we done?
Sorry.